I feel fresh. I've had a haircut. I've been to the office. I've been out and about. Had a nice coffee sitting down at a cafe. It's all over. Lockdown is behind us and we are moving on to much better things. And as you can see, I'm back in my old office. How I missed this place. So I was sitting back and I was thinking to myself, what new videos can I make about a Raspberry Pi that might be of interest or might be helpful or might give someone some value. And I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'm going to build a cool little Raspberry Pi cluster, and that cluster is going to have VMware on it, and we're just going to have a cool little lab. And I thought, you know what, heaps of people have done this, got to make it a bit more interesting. So then I started to go down the path of building a cool little portable cluster, something that you could maybe hold and carry with you, and it will connect using one single sort of PoE switch. So they'll all be powered off that one switch, and you'll have a cool little 3-node cluster with shared storage in one sort of easy to carry case. And then it hit me. I remembered a conversation that I had once upon a time with an old boss. And that conversation went a little something like this. Hello, how you going?
Elias, we have a new customer with an odd request.
Oh, cool. What is it?
We need to build a VMware cluster that can be dropped from an airplane and powered on with all workloads ready to run within a few minutes.
Ah, okay. Sounds interesting. So, what part are we doing?
We're just going to build the VMware environment and get some automation scripts running to get it online as soon as it's powered up.
Okay. When do we need it done by?
3 weeks ago.
Okay. I'll get on it. So now what I'm going to build is exactly what I was describing. I'm going to build a little box, and it's going to be as small as I can make it. And it's going to have my 4-node environment in it with 4 nodes, the Raspberry Pi nodes. 3 of them are going to have ESX on them, and 1 of them is going to have Open Media Vault, which is going to present an NFS data store to all 3 of those nodes. So then we have shared storage, and we can replicate like an enterprise sort of environment where we have shared storage and HA and DRS and all those cool VMware functions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in a plane or a drone or something like that, and we're going to drop it from that drone, and as soon as it lands, bam, we're going to connect it up. It's going to go live. All the VMs are going to come up. It's going to make contact to one of our Azure VMs hosted in Microsoft Azure, and as soon as it does, it's going to send us a message and say that it's online and it's ready to start surveilling. So it's just a bit of fun. We're just going to build it, and we're going to sort of make it a bit dramatic because there's lots of VMware Raspberry Pi cluster videos out there that are kind of boring. And then maybe I'll end up using it for something else. I don't know, we'll probably end up using it at home or in one of our labs or something like that, because it's pretty cool. It's got ESX on it, albeit it is the ARM version, the ARM version, so ESX Fling. But I mean, it's pretty cool still. You can run a few VMs on there, you can move them around, you can learn a bit of VMware, and all in something that you can pick up and carry and walk away with. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to try and make it even cooler because I think it's a bit boring when it comes to sort of just building and watching someone build something. So let's build it, let's make it really fun, put it in a Perspex box, and then drop it from somewhere really high. So anyway, let's get into it. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get all of our hardware, and then we are going to put all of our hardware together, and then we are going to install VMware onto that hardware. We're going to put it into a cluster formation, and we're going to use one of these clusters that I found online from a company called Core Electronics here in New South Wales. And that cluster will keep it sort of nice and sort of, I don't know. And that cluster will keep it nice and neat. So let's get into it. So here are a few of the things that I've purchased to start building this cluster. So you'll see I've bought a Raspberry Pi cluster with all of the Raspberry Pi components that I need. Those include Raspberry Pi 4B with 8 GB of RAM. I've got 5 of them, or 4 of them actually, but I think I'm going to need another one because one of them seems to be having a bit of an issue that I can't fix. I may have actually damaged the board. Using a TP-Link PoE switch, and that is going to power up all the Raspberry Pis. that PoE switch will be the only thing that needs external power. Everything else will be powered by the Raspberry Pi. So here you can see that I am putting together the Raspberry Pis with their PoE Plus hats. So Raspberry Pi actually make PoE Plus hats now rather than just PoE, which gives them a bit more juice, which I think gives them a bit more power to run. I stuffed up this component a few times because I couldn't really work out exactly how to build this cluster, but you can see here how I am putting them all together, and I am building that cluster with those mounts, and the cluster actually looks pretty cool. And if that's all I was building, I think that would look like a pretty neat package. I probably spent a bit too much money on the things for the cluster or the cluster itself, because I'm just going to plan to throw this from some sort of height. So let's hope that it doesn't all get smashed and turn into smithereens. And this is the finished cluster, which I think looks pretty neat. Had some RGBs, it looked even better. And taking out the TP-Link PoE Plus switch now. This PoE Plus switch was one of the cheaper ones, again, because I do intend to throw it out of, or I want to throw it out of a plane, but we're not sure what we're going to throw it from yet. But if it smashes, I don't want to waste something very expensive. And that is the TP-Link and the Raspberry Pi cluster sitting nice and neatly on top of each other with my orange and purple color theme. Here I'm just going through the Raspberry Pis after I have imaged them on a separate computer. I've imaged them and I've actually turned them into UEFI boot. Believe you need to do that to get into the ESX bootloader. So now I'm installing ESX, and this can get pretty boring because it's pretty slow on when you're installing ESX onto a VMware environment that lives on Raspberry Pis. And here I am actually installing Open Media Vault on the last Raspberry Pi, which is actually going to be it'll be the Raspberry Pi that provides storage to other ESX nodes. That way we have shared storage on the external hard drive that will actually allow us to present those data stores to all the ESX nodes, which means we can do cool things like DRS and HA, and we can use vMotion services, depending if I can get vCenter working in this environment as well, because we do need vCenter, and I'm not sure if there is a vCenter ARM or vCenter Fling architecture. This is all finished, nice and neat setup. Now we're gonna have to get a box. So that's it. Now I'm gonna box it all up. Gonna get someone to see if they can make me like a Perspex box or something that's really strong. Doesn't have to be Perspex, I guess, but anyway, gonna try and make a cool box for it. That'll take a bit of a landing, and then we're gonna somehow think of a cool way to drop it from a height. I do have to do a little few things here and there first to make it sort of secure. Even with the PoE hats I used, I didn't even put the mounting blocks here, so I've got to add them as well. They didn't fit, so I've just got to get some slightly longer ones. And then once I've done that, I got to do some sort of scripts, I guess. I got to get this thing actually mimicking what we built back in one of my old jobs. And that'll sort of mean that I get some servers on there. They probably won't be Windows servers. They're going to have to be smaller type servers, maybe like, I don't know, like a Debian box or Ubuntu or something like that. Anything that can make contact with the internet, really. Oh, which reminds me, I also need to add like some sort of a 4G dongle or something like that that can actually power on from the PoE switch as well, because we need this thing to have internet access so it can hit our beacon. That's all I can think of right now. So if you did enjoy it, if you do want to see this thing get thrown from some sort of a height, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Love to see you next time. Maybe next time I'll get a bit more into the detail about what we're doing, because I do also need to do some work on the actual servers themselves. I'm not sure if vCenter actually works with ESX ARM Fling, so we're gonna have to determine that. That'll be in the next video. So upcoming video will be a bit of VMware configuration, which is different to what I usually do. If you want to see a bit more detail about, drop it in the comment section below. Otherwise, if you just want to see the thing get smashed, if you want to see me drop it from the sky, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. We'll see you next time.